Tell them what's, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. Guys, hey, two things. One, we're live now, right? So it means that we're up. We're up on the city website right now, live. Okay? Can you just give me just can you hear him? Please, front. Can you hear? Can you hear? Okay.
Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to our annual Remembrance Day broadcast. My name is Ed Sculthorpe. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Hamilton Veterans Committee. I'm speaking to you today on June 6, 2024, the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. I'm in front of HMCS Haida, one of 121 Royal Canadian Navy vessels that were in the sea that day in front of Juno Beach. Together with 240 aircraft from the Royal Canadian Air Force, they supported 14,000 soldiers who stormed the beach that day. We suffered over 1,000 casualties, many of whom were lost in the first wave of the attack, and many of them fell in the first minute of landing on the beach. We think of them today and the comrades that came before and after them, past and present, as we reflect on their service and their sacrifice with unwavering gratitude. We will remember them.
Out here, also remembering those that sacrificed their lives for us.
It feels very strange being here because it's not raining. I don't have water dripping off my hat onto my nose. But I've always found this. I've been being here for, I guess, 50 years in a row. I've been to the Cenotaph service. I've always found it very emotional, and the expression of support from the people who are here is very moving.
And of course, during your time here in Hamilton, you worked for the Hamilton Police Services. You were also in the school board teaching. So thank you so much for taking some time out today and reflecting. As an executive director, former executive director with the Friends of HMCS Haida, what role did the Haida play?
Well, my experience with Haida goes far beyond my short term as on the board. I've been a volunteer for 22 years, and many of the people who volunteered with me when I started are still there. We have one volunteer who served on Haida in the Korean War, so you can tell he's a fair few years older than I am. And the dedication that those volunteers bring to the ship and trying to work together with Parks Canada and keeping it going is impressive.
And during the wars, HMCS Haida and how the sailors, the type of life that they lived in helping for the common goal. Talk to us about what you have learned from your research, your studies, and how the Haida really made its impact.
Well, Haida was one of 4 tribal class destroyers that Canada had during the Second World War. We got 4 more after the war. And Haida got the nickname of the fightingest ship in the Canadian Navy. Wherever there was action, she seemed to be there. And she sank more enemy surface vessels than any other ship in the Canadian Navy. Some people on other ships thought that she was a glory hound. But it's interesting, her captain, Harry DeWolf, has now been memorialized by the Arctic and Offshore Patrol Vessel, HMCS Harry DeWolf, which was just here in Hamilton. Haida, first expedition was to Murmansk, northern Russia, and she was there on Christmas Day, 1943, during the Battle of North Cape, and then back down to the English Channel in preparing for the invasion of Normandy, clearing the channel of enemy vessels, and then on D-Day itself, she was on the western flank of the invasion forces, keeping everybody going across to Normandy safe.
And of course, it was not the most easiest living conditions for the sailors on HMCS Haida. If anyone out here has taken a tour on Canada Day, if you have not, I strongly suggest you do that. You get to go in free. You take that tour, you wonder, what was life really like living on the Haida?
I like talking to kids when they come on board, and I ask them if they have their own room, and usually the answer is yes. And I ask them, how would you like to share your room with 50 of your closest friends? And other people say, well, where's the cafeteria? Well, you're here. Where do they sleep? Here. Where do they have a chance to relax? Here. The other thing I talk about is the fact that they're wearing woolen clothing. There was no laundry during the Second World War. You did your own laundry in a bucket. And everybody smoked. So you're in a space where there's wet woolen clothing and food and cigarette smoke and all the other smells. It would have been a very homey place.
Yeah. I know Cathedral High School, they recently, in the last few years, put up a beautiful display remembering the veterans and those that served and that also went to Cathedral. I've been there, and you look at these photos and you look at their ages and you look at how young they were. These weren't men who had a lot of life experience. They were called into the war fresh-faced and young. To the people that are watching today, can you give them an idea of what that was like and what their lives would have been like at that time?
Well, the vast majority of the crew of Haida would have been naval reservists with perhaps 2 or 3 months experience fresh off farms or factories, probably late teens, maybe some old people in their early 20s. First time away from home. I personally can't imagine what it would have been like being thrust into that environment.
And I hope a lot of people out here think about that too. You know, what would it be like if all of a sudden, you know, we got that call? Would you be able to step up for your country? As you have lived your life here in Hamilton and set the roots here, what are some things that you continually observe and notice in regards to how important Remembrance Day is and the people that come out to remember?
Well, even though I grew up in Hamilton, I live in Caledonia now, small town, and I would say we probably have 300 or 400 at the Cenotaph right now in Caledonia. The same kind of atmosphere, and you see people here that you don't see for the rest of the year. They come out because they know it's important, and that connection. As we get more distant from the Second World War, there are fewer and fewer people who remember their own family connections. And it's encouraging to see people coming out to connect, even if they themselves can't say, my father served or my grandfather served.
Did you have any of your family members serve in the war, sir?
On the 1st of July 1916, my paternal grandfather went over the top at the Somme. He was wounded, and it turns out it's lucky he was, because that's how I came about later on. And my maternal grandfather was in the 38th Battalion of the Canadian Expeditionary Force. He was twice wounded. My father served during the Second World War with the Royal Corps of Signals in Persia, and my father-in-law served on motor torpedo boats in the English Channel. So there's a very definite family connection.
Well, I think that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. You talked about the injuries and how they survived them, but again, it's not like you were being brought to clean, sterile hospitals. You were on the battlefield there, being looked after, being bandaged up, and more often than not, maybe thrown right back out there again.
Yeah, I note that my one grandfather was wounded twice, about 30 days apart, so clearly patched up and back into the trench.
Mr. Bell, we have about a minute left here before we get on with the rest of the ceremonies. To everyone that is out here again, I'm going to give this last minute to you. Any final words to the people that are standing here watching live or on TV right now, sir?
Well, my thought now goes to those members of our Canadian forces who are serving, the brigade in Latvia, to the members of the Naval Reserve here at Star, and to my own son, who's a commander in the Canadian Navy and currently serving in Ottawa, but his last ship posting was in HMCS Harry DeWolf when she circumnavigated North America. He's had the opportunity to go to his daughter's school today, and I'd like to be there to see that.
Mr. Bell, thank you very much for your time and for your words and passing a lot of history along to all of us. It's now my honor to throw it to Mr. Mike Rehill.
Good morning, viewers. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Mike Rehill, and I am the current chair of the City of Hamilton Veterans Committee. Remembrance Day in Hamilton is a time for appreciation and reflection of those Canadians who sacrificed their lives for our peace and freedom. Remembrance Day in Canada has been commemorated since 1931. In 1921, November 11th was termed Armistice Day and signified the signing of the armistice ending World War I. The armistice was signed on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. The central focus of the Hamilton ceremony occurs at the Gore Park Cenotaph. The cenotaph in Gore Park was erected through the efforts of the Canadian Club of Hamilton to commemorate our glorious dead, who sacrificed their lives during the First World War. The magnificent granite memorial was unveiled at 5 p.m. on May 22, 1923, by the Governor General, Viscount Byng of Vimy. This year marks the 101st anniversary of the Gore Park Cenotaph. It also marks the 100th anniversary of the creation of the Royal Canadian Air Force. Hamiltonians and Canadians have a long history of fighting oppression and cultivating peace, starting with the War of 1812, the Fenian Raids of 1866, the Northwest Rebellion of 1885, the South African War of 1889, the First World War, 1914 to 1918, the Second World War, 1939 to 1945, the Korean War of 1950, and most recently the Afghanistan War of 2001. Hamiltonian service people have also served around the world on United Nations peacekeeping missions, places like Vietnam, Egypt, the Congo, Cyprus, Lebanon, Pakistan, Cambodia, Somalia, Uganda, and the Balkans. At home, Hamiltonians have also served to fight fires, floods, and ice storms. Most recently, over 200 Hamilton service people were mobilized to help citizens combat COVID. The ceremony you will observe today signifies a time-honored tribute to our war dead. The last post, a 2-minute silence, and rouse played by a bugler. The act of remembrance, the wreath laying, and recitations. All of our families have a story to tell about an ancestor or family member who served. Today is our opportunity to reflect and be thankful of their sacrifice. Thank you again. We will remember them. We'll now take you to Gore Park for today's Remembrance Day service. Good morning. Memorial Cross families, members of government, veterans, and Hamiltonians, welcome to the annual City of Hamilton Remembrance Day service. My name is Major Mike Rehill. I am the chair of the City of Hamilton Veterans Committee and your Master of Ceremonies for this morning's service. We recognize that the City of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. 80 years ago, the 3rd Canadian Division of 10,000 men landed at Juno Beach in France and began the final fight to Germany. The Royal Canadian Navy contributed 124 vessels and 10,000 sailors, and the Royal Canadian Air Force contributed 39 squadrons to the operation. The 11th Field Battery RCA was part of the 12th Field Regiment RCA and actually fired on the beach from their landing craft with their 105mm howitzers. The RHLI landed at the end of the first week in July and were key to the assault on Caen, which fell on the 19th of July. The Argylls landed with the 4th Division in August and fought through Normandy to Hill 195, which was one of their finest victories. The HMCS Haida also participated by protecting our troops from harm in the English Channel. This year also marks the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Air Force. On February 15, 1923, King George V gave approval to use the prefix Royal in front of the Canadian Air Force. A year later, the Canadian government approved the use of the royal prefix, and the Royal Canadian Air Force was formed with 68 officers and 307 airmen on April 1st, 1924. We remember their achievements and their sacrifice. We will begin our ceremony today with the singing of our national anthem, led by the Dundas Concert Band, O Canada. I now call upon Captain Padre Michael Aldred for the opening reflection.
On this solemn day, we gather in memory of those who lost their lives so that we could live in freedom, according to the values we hold dear. In the spirit of peace and gratitude, this moment prompts us to reflect on the sacrifices of our heroes and their families. In this moment of silence, we recognize the courage of all who have served, leaving behind loved ones to defend something greater than themselves. Their actions remind us of the strength in unity. It is this unity that we find hope and resilience amid the challenges of our world continues to face. Let us open our hearts to the lessons of the past. From conflict, we learn the power of love, love that binds families, communities, and all humanity. Those we remember today were driven by this force towards their fellow human beings and the ideals of peace and justice. In remembrance, we are filled with gratitude for the peace and liberties we enjoy. This peace was hard won, and its preservation is shared responsibility by all. You must be thankful not only for those who fought, but also for those acts of kindness and cooperation that helped heal wounds of conflict and division. Let this Remembrance Day inspire us to carry forward the legacy of those who came before us. May we be bearers of peace, custodians of compassion, and champions of justice. In this spirit, let us keep their memory alive, not just today, but in our everyday lives, lest we forget.
We will now have Dominic Vanny and Barack Antoine, who are grade 8 students at École Élémentaire Catholique Monseigneur de Laval, read the iconic poem In Flanders Fields in French. En français. I also have it here.
In Flanders Field, the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing, fly scars heard amid the guns below.
Nous aimerions remercier. Nous sommes morts il y a peine quelques jours. Nous reconnaissons la joie de la vie, de la mort, le fraîcheur de l'aurore, les lueurs du ponant. Maintenant, nos corps sans vie reposant en sol flamand. Nos mains inanimées vous tendent le flambeau. C'est à vous à présent de tenir bien haut, de contrer l'ennemi, reprendre la querelle.
If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field.
We will now observe the act of remembrance. The bugle call of the last post, the 2-minute silence, the rouse, and the lament. In 1914, the English poet Lawrence Binyon wrote a poem called For the Fallen. Today, we recite a part of this poem as the final part of the act of remembrance. I would like to call upon the past chair of the Hamilton Veterans Committee, Bob Fife, to read the Veterans Prayer.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Thank you.
I now call upon those with wreaths to proceed to the wreath line. I would like to acknowledge the wreaths made by the students of Prince of Wales School, Dr. J. Edgar Davies School, and Dalewood School. During the wreath laying, the Healthy Men's Indigenous Drum Circle will honor us with an honor song for those who made the supreme sacrifice. Please begin the laying of the wreaths. As we near the end of our ceremony, I call upon the Dundas Concert Band under the direction of Bill Rolfe to play God Save the King. Padre Aldred will now close the service with a benediction.
Loving and compassionate Creator, we ask for all who have labored for liberty, for freedom, and for justice, for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, for those who in life and death have preserved our living. Grant that they may rest in your peace, and that we, through our actions, may be found worthy of inheriting your eternal treasures. Amen.
Thank you to our Memorial Cross family, representatives of the federal, provincial, and municipal government, and all citizens who joined us for today's ceremony. Through the observance of Remembrance Day, we express our gratitude, our sorrow, and our pride for all those who served, fought, suffered, and died for the freedoms we enjoy today. We will remember them. This concludes the ceremony. Thank you very much. Safe trip.